with the glass. Everybody stay down. Get down. Today marks 1 year since rioters stormed the nation's capital in an attempt to overturn the 2020 presidential election. The events took place on January 6th. Well, they started as a rally but ended as an attack. And while the mob was moving towards the Capitol on January 6th, Representative Khanna was being evacuated from his office in the Cannon building due to a bomb threat. And Representative Khanna is joining us. And tell me what goes through your mind at this point. It's 365 days later, but still that memory must be very fresh in your mind.
It is. It really was an appalling, horrific day. I was in the Cannon building. They said we had to evacuate right away. There was a lead pipe bomb apparently somewhere on the premises. And I rushed exited the building, rushed towards the Capitol, and then we got text saying, don't come into the Capitol, it's being overrun. And so we ended up going back into the Cannon building, not knowing whether the bomb had been diffused, and I locked my door and was inside the rest of the day. Tragically, they still have not caught the person who was responsible for the lead pipes. I don't understand how we haven't caught such a person who was trying to bomb buildings in the Capitol complex.
It somehow goes without saying that it is still quite horrific to just put our heads around that this happened on our soil by people that are U.S. citizens.
You're absolutely right. Look, there's not a day that goes by that I don't feel a sense of awe when I walk into the Capitol. It's such a place of pride for every American. What I love best is when young kids come and visit me from the Bay Area, and I get to show them parts of the Capitol or the House floor. And to have an attack on the Capitol, and that attack take place by our own citizens, not some foreign enemy, I never thought I'd ever see that in my lifetime. And what is also sad is that you don't have a bipartisan condemnation of this. I mean, Karl Rove, for example, wrote condemning this and urging all Republicans to condemn this, and yet you have Republicans today still minimizing what took place.
And I was going to bring that up. I mean, there's still a huge divide in regards to the events of January 6th, what it is, what it was, just simply talking about the facts of what happened.
Let me suggest a way that every American should be able to agree on. Yes, there are people who showed up on January 6th who were protesters and were peaceful. Let's stipulate that. But we know for a fact that there were thousands of people there who were not peaceful, people who were armed, people who were chanting death to Vice President Pence, people who made the deliberate decision to scale the Capitol walls, who shoved aside police officers and stormed into the building. I don't understand how any American can condone that. Our country was founded based on the premise that we settle differences based on political engagement, not violence. And so you can have a view that, yes, some people were there peacefully, but still condemn the violent perpetrators of the insurrection. And that shouldn't be hard for anyone, regardless of their party.
And on that, the heels of that, you can also talk about differences. I mean, some people could say or feel that the election was not to their liking or that they have problems with the election. But all of the facts and all of the steps, including the United States Supreme Court, has already weighed in that there was absolutely no stealing of any election.
Absolutely. And look, I think it's factual that the election wasn't stolen. But even if you have the view that there was some fraud committed, et cetera, there's a process. And no one blamed any member of Congress from getting up there and saying, I want to object, or filing a case with the courts or taking it to the Supreme Court. That's people's right as citizens. What's not a person's right is to resort to violence. What's not a person's right is to attack our Capitol and try to break into our Capitol building. That is unconscionable. That is un-American. That violates everything that most people love about this country, and that should face the harshest condemnation, the harshest accountability, and the harshest criminal sanctions.
I think that fear is something that is driving so many people these days, be it coronavirus, be it what happened, with their thoughts about the election. But there is no place for fear. We really just have to wrap our heads around facts.
Absolutely. We have to wrap our heads around facts, and we have to understand what a blessing we have as an inheritance to be born American, to be born into this great democracy, a democracy that's becoming the first multiracial democracy in the history of the world. And how many people, from our founders to those who fought in the Civil War, to those who fought in World War II, to those who marched in civil rights, to those who marched in women's rights movements, how many people have sacrificed so we have this democracy? It is for us to make sure that that project goes on and gets better and isn't undermined.
Well, Representative, thank you very much for joining us, and we really appreciate your work there in D.C.
Thank you. Appreciate it.